끊어 샤는 거 병전도 전 우리서
아,
나는 끊어 샤는 거 용전데
그나마 고급 추천해.
Welcome back to the Pure Land. As you probably know, we're going to have to share books this afternoon, so please share with your neighbor. Wanted to just mention once again next week, the Most Venerable Khenpo Konchol Gyaltsen Rinpoche or Kenshin Rinpoche is coming into town. That ought to be just an absolutely terrific event with the auspicious full moon of Sagadama, and as well the Shakyamuni Empowerment, Shakyamuni Buddha Empowerment, which is very appropriate, of course, for the occasion, and no less the Diamond Rosary, as I mentioned in the morning announcements, with the fivefold Mahamudra path, which is just an incredible thing with Khenpo La and Kenshin La having written the book, The Diamond Rosary, on that behalf. So, also, for those who are not familiar, Gardrolma, our sister Sangha in Dayton, Ohio, has an absolutely phenomenal website that they built over a period of many years, and Khenpo Samdup have teachings on there that are just precious, and please go there to the Gardrolma, Gardrolma. You can just get that by Googling, and then you'll see the courses that are offered. It's really a treasure trove of the Dharma. Now I want to mention again, because this is particularly important, please do not park down in that church parking lot tomorrow. Your car, it's very strictly enforced now on Sundays, and your car will be towed. So the alternatives are to go down Zion Drive, which is the stoplight right out here. Just go on down Zion, and you can park in the neighborhoods, walk back up, and then at 8:30 tomorrow morning, there will be the shuttle service starting from the Giant, which when you head north on Ox Road and you come to Braddock, then right there on the right is the shopping center, and you'll see the big Giant there. And so we'll be shuttling back and forth from there on a regular basis. So please, though, don't go down in the church parking lot. They've been extraordinarily kind to give us all the access we've had on days they don't use it. Also, just a reminder, and we've said this every weekend, please consider making donations or contributions. Most of you know that we have over 1,000 Buddha statues, and by donating, on a regular basis, say to the point of, say, $1,000, your name or your family name or whatever you'd like will be there in perpetuity for as long as the center is here, which should be for quite a long time. So that, or any contribution in any amount, a regular monthly kind of thing, $10 a month, whatever you can afford, that just really helps us a lot to bring our mortgage down and to be able to try to make the improvements needed. Most of you know that we desperately need to go ahead and gravel in a parking lot and not have a mud bath out there during the rainy season. So, it's just things like this that would be extraordinarily helpful for you all to consider. Do any of you have any questions, administrative or other things, before we turn to the Buddha for... Yeah, I mentioned sharing the prayer text. Yeah.
If you just share with like 2 or 3 people to the prayer text, that would be very helpful.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thanks very much.
So, first, going to teach the our local Shora Chin as a 1 hour teaching. So after we take the break and then come back again, so we're going to practicing Amitabha sadhana and with Sancho ritual together. So Amitabha sadhana, we don't have enough. Please share maybe 2 people together, okay? So today this teaching, the Amitabha teaching, is the Nyingne ritual. Usually we have here 1 month once practicing Nyingne ritual. So that's today you get empowerment and the teaching. So next time please come back, we practicing together Nyingne ritual. And also just Jeremy already mentioned about the statues. 1,000 statues we have here, 1,000 statues. So we going to I'm going to talk Tibetan. English is already finished. The 보게 네, 다다 네 고란 그 랍소왕 가서 네 근다 동타지 요러와 지소나나. 다다다 네 지소 네 가서 불론 랑야지 차가 요러와. 근다 때그 소용 되게 불론 참아세 톰도 요래 근다 랭이 소와이나. 애들이 다 pen lakang de daw che mche ge yen go yena ani yen thoya tan de yo ma re yena yang ko che li yaw yena ani te ge pen yong ge mche ge lakang yen yaw na ye tan de ge pen yong to ge yo re kandar ko che li yaw yena te ne mote la lakang che yen yaw ge pen yong to ge yo re tan de yen de ani ngarang so chama nyam nan zom bo to ne nyam na te ne 다 지 소소 그 강용 지용 그 애니 샹데 되는 낭네 그스와이나 애니 배 페인도 침보 요와당 지소인데 마옹 발라 애니 제 용을 뭐제 네트와 되게 되니 제 산에 니그 마망라 애니 제 페인도 용와다 롬보제 그 공발라 주치시대 애니 지소 네다부 쪽네 애니 미요르데 간이스나 애니 자캅 델 페인도야 마망 산에 델 데반데 솔 페인도야 tenderu gomba chimbo yoare ente de ngaran so morere kete drop thoya yo mare yena yang ta raran so so ke nibana yin che pen ko ndaw che teni le yawa yena ente ge mche ke che lagang chimbo de taw che yen yawa ke pheyon chas morere yin de top top ge yore tenderu yin de chama ke de sola kandar kayong chi yong ke ko lo le teng ha le chawa de so chama la nyen ni tuji che sia tenderu yin.
So we have those 1,000 statues, these Buddha statues here, and so as you mentioned before, we have this. We still have a loan open from purchasing the temple, and so if we would find a sponsor for each of those 1,000 Buddha statues, then we could actually repay that loan. Then we could pay off that loan. And so when we want to build a temple, a center, and one person cannot do that. But if you only contribute by buying one of those statues, and then later we have that temple, then you have actually the same benefit. You receive the same benefit as if you would buy the whole temple yourself. Therefore, I hope in the future you can make a donation to the center and help with donating one of those or sponsoring one of those Buddha statues, because then also when we have established this place firmly, it will remain here for a long time in the future, and that will be of great benefit for the people of this place. Actually, when Rinpoche started the center, it is his intention to benefit the country in general and especially the people in that area. And so that is not something that one person can accomplish, not one person can build a whole temple. But if you would only sponsor one of those statues and then later we can actually purchase this temple, then you have the same benefit as if you would have, each person has the same benefit of building an entire temple. So I would like to thank all of those who have already contributed to that, and I also invite you to continue to contribute to this.
Everyone, this is the book, the Buddha Amitabha book that we're going to practice this afternoon. This is the temple copy, so we don't have many. I know a lot of people, you come here, you don't have a copy. So please come in forward and maybe we'll share with the others so we can practice together. We do not have enough copies, so for those who don't have it, please come forward and then maybe sit next to each other people and share the book so we can practice together.
So, Madama friends, this afternoon we will receive instructions, the ripening instructions of Chenrezig. So this morning I've offered to you the empowerment of Chenrezig. It is called the ripening empowerment. Ripening because we ripen something that is unripe. For example, like an apple, when a piece of fruit that is unripe, when it ripens, after it has ripened, then it has a perfect color and flavor. but in its unripe state, it doesn't have any good flavor at all. So what is ripened here during the empowerment is the mind of sentient beings. So sentient beings' mind actually is awakened, is the Buddha. But for the time being, for as long as their mind is unripe, they experience all sorts of suffering and pain. When their mind ripens, then they accomplish the benefit for themselves, or the happiness for themselves and the benefit for others. So when you attain the state of enlightenment, then you attain a state of great bliss, and there's no more difficulty, no more suffering. And then you can really benefit other sentient beings. So the sentient being is what we call an unripe mind, and the Buddhas are a ripened mind. And during the empowerment, we are introduced to how we can ripen our mind. So it is called the ripening empowerment. So during the empowerment, we learn that first you must ripen your own mind. And then you ripen your body, and the body becomes the deity, and you ripen speech, and it becomes mantra. But actually, if you ripen your mind, then naturally the body and the speech will also ripen at the same time. And so then we need a method to do that. So that is the liberating instruction now that we receive in this afternoon. And that begins with first cultivating bodhicitta, and then on the basis of that, giving rise to the clear image of the deity in your mind while you recite the deity's mantra. And then as a result of practicing continuously, ideally, you ripen entirely in this very lifetime. Then you attain the rainbow body. You do not even leave a physical body behind. The body completely dissolves and just leaves hair and nails behind, and then completely disappears. So there are some who ripen in this way, and then there is some who ripen in the first bardo. And so when you ripen, when you attain enlightenment, the mind becomes like a vast ocean. And that mind is beyond birth and death. And that body that you then assume is called the Vajra body. So the liberating instruction are the explanation on how we ripen our mind stream. And that is taught to us then by our spiritual teachers. So I myself actually do not have much knowledge from the theoretical perspective, but I do have some understanding when it comes to how to actually engage in practice.
바드 예와이네 바드 사드 쪽보로지 차 드버가도 오 사사랑이 그 쪽보들이 쪽보 하자 쪽보 이메 와라지 오 류지나 샘직이 바드 삼지 치고 자는 저 봐서 저 지금까지 사사랑시 예메 받자는 샘지 삼지에 봐 port봐 내가 자는 진성 대들이 니바 장가를 줘라 사달 줘요래 니바 장가를 민국에 체 들이 변해서 다 방법 제는 써고 들을 니바 들이들이 하고를 막은 콜로고 들들이 니와니 바데 막은 콜로 들이 대량한 항안이 다들이 콜로다 지고는 사드 서비스 세디지도 매마 제는 들이 콜을 들이 기마사들 두박감이들이 Rupakami, Tisha, Semi Jaya Beva, when the Machico Potaway, Chayamuri, Tikami, Sat, Semi Chatab Dela, Titra, Dadi, Undi, Pami, Yori, when Charon, the Shore, Challenger, with the one, Tita, in Nigeria, so this is never charity, Tam, just some change of cruelty. Unity, Jerem, the Sarmas, sent the Tibato. Sempre tinha tinha rale mentir sagar rabale pare taka sona yang tiran ke jeram ti bo ma yong na sempre bo che ma de la zo sa zo se ma de na ti la yang tu ta ro bo cha ro de ro dang che
And so according to the new tantric system, we practice the deity gradually through the 4 classes of Tantra. And then in each class of Tantra there is a different way to engage in a deity's practice, a different way to approach the practice. And according to the old tantric system, we practice the deity by following the 4 steps of the four branches of approach and accomplishment. So if we follow the Nyingma, the old system, the first of those 4 branches is called the approach. And so here we first become acquainted with the deity. Then secondly is the close approach. And so here it is like becoming good friends with the deity. Then third is the accomplishment. That is when the deity becomes like a very dear friend. It's almost like you're one. You have 2 bodies, but you have one mind. You have great love for each other. And then fourth is the great accomplishment, and that is when your own mind merges indivisibly with the mind of the deity. And when that is accomplished, then you can also act to liberate other sentient beings. And then for the mantra recitation, there normally is a number of mantras to be accumulated. And it is said that while you recite that mantra, the visualization of the deity should be very clear. So here, when we again go through those 4 branches, first in the approach stage, you visualize the mantra garland, the syllables, the visualization clearly. Then in the close approach, the mantra garland begins to circle, to rotate, and then emanates a sound of mantra. And then you remain within that without distraction, and slowly you are merging your mind with the deity's mind. And then in the accomplishment stage, then you never forget about the deity any longer. It's always in your mind, just like a mother always thinks about her only child. And the more the deity remains within your mind, the more the grasping at a self and a concrete reality will dissolve, just like ice dissolving into water. And so that then leads to the great accomplishment. So there is a certain number of mantras to be accumulated for a deity, such as 1,000,000 or so. But then what's more important is the clear visualization and the mind that remains without distraction. So whether or not we accomplish the deity does not so much rely on the number of recitations, but really on the bodhicitta and the non-distracted mind. So even if you accumulate all the number of mantras, if it is not based on an ongoing state of bodhicitta and an undistracted mind, then you will still be very distant from the deity.
Lak gomba tele tini sawa takwa timba sum ko yore tido sawa dine pela pang chita ta cherum ne yong ba thot ya la ko te ti chelo lo tam sharu la ni sema halum se ji shat ko yore te pa la ti ne mag thoj mai ba sem khorna ti la chi ti shai ko pe la go pa chi wo 바람이 찌와치 비지 바람이 때문에 대선을 샤름을 갈래 샤름 때 샤나들 라디고 바르샤나 될 남바사와데 되게 얘들은 가와도 때는 랑을 셈을 샤데 마디 서로를 요 말이 랑을 셈도 가리티나 때는 저도가 하고 랑을 셈도 가리티나 때는 저도도 없어 이 셈을 되렇게 나 메랑다베 바 되게 가양 메와 다메와리 들들이 가리샤는 저쪽이요래 대회는 들이 롱럭박이야 생도 똥바지는 배대 가리는 저쪽이요래 다디미네들이 다디디 사쪽에서 저쪽들이 가리는 저쪽이요래서 나빠서와디 라선을 잖아 맞아 땜바드는 당이 사대 겁나 마사디는 레상고요래 당마사 말이 라페사 치볼가 독자리 상고요래 티 말이 샘지도 샘이 예대 대식이 뭐서 샘이 예대 slag 샘도 제발 싸리요 말이지 이런 오자 로버트 메터 산지 정리 되게서 샘지 남의 사지 오자 로버트 메터 정도 그 로버가 다지는 되네 다지는 되네 저 콜라 차요 그래서 다 처음에 차로로 차디요 차로도 효성들이 단지 사지에서 사지 정리가 같으면 무슨 샘이 서와 나와 요만 좋아도 샘이 용의 사지가 되어야지 사지에 가야 되고 다시 나지에 가야지 나지비고 집이로 샘피고서 그쪽 맞지는 그 저렇게 나요 말이야 나고 이제는 매배 이 사족수 이미로 그쪽 맞지라지 나면 하고 며칠로 상태에는 그쪽 말기는 샘은 입에 나베가 차대 지금이 샘 찍어요래 그러나 그 보고서 바닥 정말 째어나 바닥 정말 뒤 세바 찍어 차요래 지금이 나베가 차더래 도고 직장면 있어서 라시장에서 나마도 직장면 직장으로 도고면서 라시 다한 걸 어떻게 그러면 좋을 차로도 다한 거래 제 이제는 샘 상계래 상마제요 나디기 좀 그래 다리 사촉지는 경제지 되게 라드지나 나 라디들이 세대에서 나 라가 생각이 있지바래 맨날 파다 보다버려 마다 보다가 라가 생각이 있지바래 되게 사촉지도 막 가지고 잊어버려서 이제는 라 세면상 맞았대 봐서 때 하장 같이 오래 나빠서라다 맞았대 많이 강속치 버려 맞았대 봐서 치 버려 인발에 시바하지 싸우고 뭐 탐나 뭐 샘등을 이제 상지에서도 저발이 당아 인핑을 놓치는 때는 안 적도 살래 뒤 쪼래 뒤 같이 버려 나빠서 왔다 맞았대 봐서 되나 살아 디바이나 하래
And so it is not only Shinresic, but actually whichever deity we practice, it is the same principle actually. So if you understand the way to practice the deity, then you know how to practice 100 different other deities as well. So if you understand that, you can practice really any deity. And so generally we practice any deity in three different ways. There's three aspects to the deity practice. That is, we visualize clearly, we recollect the purity, and we develop divine pride. So first, the clarity, the clear visualization is to visualize the deity, the generation stage clearly. But even if the visualization is not so clear, in the beginning it is also sufficient if like a vague image first appears in your mind, like just the light, like a light form appearing in your mind. And that appearance arises out of your own devotion to the deity. And what you see is nothing that you see with your eyes, but it appears to your mind. For example, when you think about someone like a father or so that you love very much, and then you remember them, they appear in your mind. And so in the same way, the deity appears to your mind. So that is the clear visualization. What appears does not appear outside of you, but it appears in your own mind. And so therefore, whatever the mind can conceive of, that it will become. Whatever you think about, you will become. Because the mind is like a mirror. There actually is no self that exists within the mind. And so because of that, whatever you conceive of, you can accomplish that. You can become just that. Also in the scriptures, that is explained. The scriptures say that because the mind is empty, it can become anything. And so if you cultivate bodhicitta, you can become the deity. So that is the first point, the clear visualization. And then secondly, you develop a divine pride, and that is the confidence of actually, I am the deity, knowing I am the deity, being the deity. So sometimes people think that I'm so low and the deity is so special, so precious. But you should see that the deity actually is your own nature. the basis of mind of all beings is Buddha nature, and that nature is not different than the mind of the deity, even in the slightest. The Buddha had said all beings are actually Buddhas. They are only obscured by temporary stains. That is the temporary stain of grasping at a self, a dualistic perception. And that is what has created samsara. That is what has caused the mind to become like a block of ice. But when that ice melts, then really all beings are Buddhas. And that is the truthful, authentic word of the Buddha. So therefore, it doesn't really matter whether one is Buddhist or not Buddhist, because everyone has a mind, and whoever has a mind has this potential to awakening, Buddha nature. And in order to accomplish enlightenment, we need to eliminate this fixation on the existence of a self. And that is eliminated when you give rise to an altruistic mind that cares about others. Because in that moment, there is no self. And that is because the self did not exist in the first place. So when you realize that, you begin to realize that when love arises, then the self completely disappears. For example, when you think of a person you love, then the self disappears, and you see the non-dual nature of the mind. You feel joyful and happy, and that is because the self has disappeared. For example, if you love your family, your children, and so on, and you think of them, you feel happy, because then you don't think about yourself. And on the other hand, some people, they have no companions, and they even want to commit suicide, and they think, I'm so lonely, I have no companions, and that suffering really is unbearable for them. They are completely tied up in their thoughts of attachment and aversion, and then they even take their own life. So actually, the basis of mind is the Buddha, but the reason why we are not yet enlightened is because we falsely grasp at a self. And so to remedy that, we cultivate compassion for others. And so that is the purpose of the deity practice. For example, when you think of the deity, you don't think about the self, and you recognize that mind itself is the mind of the deity. My mind is the same as the deity. It is just like a mother's mind and the child's mind. Their mind is like one. So it is just most important to never separate from bodhicitta. So of those two types of deity, these two aspects of deity practice, the visualization and the divine pride, what is more important? What is more important is the divine pride. That is more important than the clear visualization. And so divine pride means to recognize that I really am by nature the deity. You acknowledge your true nature. And that is more important than a clear visualization. And so it is sufficient here to understand that if I give rise to an altruistic mind, then my mind really is the deity. So that is sufficient to understand.
봉봉가들 족초가듯이 납식아 강가들은 사점매롱 중앙아 각지조건들은 참고요리 선후진직된 첨보대 중앙가다 가다 리리그들이 루셈이와라 되는지 참고요리 중앙아 강아 그때도 싸워 가리리 싸워 셈는 유모방아 마다바거리 유모방아리 그 유모방아 했더니 사족적으로 매일은 시간을 저런 거래. 그때 시간을 저러 상계 마음이 배가로 때 유모방 같은 제외라더니 유모방 또 차례 세나서 유모방 쪽을죠. 들은 좋아를 쪽대 매족을 마음에들이 마다바 좋아. 다디는 지는 좋아를 쪽 매족을 이미 사족 semble 들더니 상지가 거다시 감라서 와 시간을 야페이더래더라. 냐와다 신강한테 무슨 요래대 내가 요래 타톡대 뜰봐요 말이 대답지 네 똥방이 무엇보다 님바트가 요만 사원 저러고 요래 돈이 다속 동만이 왜 내가는 저러고 요래 진 강아지나들이 조금 산지 진민사면 총소 이 사축석을 나눠들이 다 냐틀이 봐라 대답을 가다지가 들어 왕수라 띵거나 바카레 토마스 사축석지 제를 들라가는 다 지내지 라 찍냠니 들다 라 탐지 되는 도요사 하고 그래 20을 라더지 야더지 싫은데 찍소 라 20바도 유니도 참아 라 찍을 주섬제 사제 찍을 주섬제 사제도 요바 디시 대신 사진 나오는 참아되는 도요사 이 대회를 지금 마 찍고 말배면 벌써 좀 힘보래 되는 거 탐지 되는 도요사 대회 대승비아들이 라 찍고 네 라치보 자치보니 늘 라이만 먹고서 속으로래 사실은 그 속으로래 오라 찍을 때서 다 자치죽도 다 자치보도 고상고요 머리 찍을 매와서 마음마치 종거래 다 찍을 때는 다시 이제 라 탐지 잡고이 돼도 야 파할 때는 야 돼서 그래 다 가리라면 찍을 때는 참아 자치고 사다래 제랑그 대통령 이런 때는 말이 라찍 냥서를 라 탐지도 하고 저들아 이 사진을 준다고 말이 대왜 이제는 라 탐지도요 저밤에 라 탐지도요 산타 자기 제들 야들라네 피는 생기 탐지를 팽개요 대상으로 따면 라지상으로 따면 사이 제름 라그나들이 죽은 나와서에서 로고 특지치 보소 죽었다 이제 남갔다고 차대요래 뒤는 좀 탑들 뛰니더니 로고 남들 좀 만나기 들으랑 그 대바다 락 대와이래 뒤로 탑들하고 쏘고 요래 별로 오마가 말하기 요래 대회더니 오마도 쪽쪽으로 되는 말도 통을 좀 탑지 봐야 됐다고 해 락 탑라들 락 무슨 탑고 요래 맞는 로고 특지치 보소 자성다 남가라 내리살라 마리바 대사 왔다면 조금 비만종에도 우체들이 매일에 걸어 보지 사지 좀 뒤에서는 우체 폐별을 쭉 제도 폐별들이 다다다 로아를 좀 생기사게 쭉 콩서 열에 참아 쭉 거래지 오가도 참아 쭉 거래지 쭉 연하들이 쭉 다 미나 이 사진이 저도 마미야 내가 그때 졸아로 빼지다고 썼네 그래서 매발시 바라다고 셈미는 사족 셈미 딸미끼리 제름 마미끼랑 마 대바서 뒤난데다 제름 싸워요 두고 말이 소리를 갖고 요래 돼 그리고 마 대반도 싸워죠 하코데 사실 길이 셈미치는 라고 조왕나랑 인들이 내가 마다바간 됐다고 달았더니 소몽아이랑 지레스 셈미몽아돼요 이 사촉서도 저서 시간에 대다가 저기가 와시네 들이 사다가 코르트 조금 더 사간 거나 들이랑 그 사대에 저 조들 하고 딱지네도 나버지 거기 때문에 저니 다 총총이 다 주주 걸는다 삼서랑 그 주고 뒤집었더니 오마니 배매 홍지서 곰 되고나 등하고 양도 곰나 하고 곰 터바서 람수 곰 터바서 다시 니바도 요래 지실은 오마니 배매 오마니 배매 홍 싸우자 타보로라 나 타보로 주고 포함 나서서 필라 팽거 요래 가다타를 다단 저거 팽거를 가다타를 싫어를 제거래 섬싸오인 거래 다 갖고 건들이 니바데 다들이 니와이 기바다 콜로 코르타 바데 콜로 타고 가네 콜 오마네 베메 홍을 다 가고 직장 말아버리 콜로도 갖고 생각은 콜로데 양도 콜로 하전 줘보 뭐가 벌써 받았더니 남들 쇼파드는 콜로스가 있대요. 내가 콜로다 오고 거서레스. 하고 나도 쇼파 콜라. 일단 뭐 콜로 통거요. 아주 잡아도 콜로 통거를 하게 놓고 제다긴 거는 듣지 않다는 하가라가 세다든지 나다리 성공 다 니와리 니바도 그래. 다음에 니와리 니바도 통다. 드리데 고테티리 드리드리 다들 삼제가 나지네 드리디 다가 제트 삼제 락지 와치고래 다가리 르바긴데 드리 소실 롱바 드리 자카빈다 다블링데 저 삼제 잡고 다만 잡을 피고서 따지게 잡고 해 드리디를 좀 잡을 그 사강으로 또다뭐 버터타뭐 버터 도와로 살로 이 샘도 나가는 잡아서 지다면 잡다 봤잖아 다 니바 잡아서 다 삼제 잡다 또 잡아요 그래 너 소치 삼제 치려고 니바 잡아 대선을
And so to talk about it in more detail, of course, that would require a lot of explanation, but in brief, so the form, our outer form, the outer universe, consists of the 5 elements, and then one's own being, we consist of the 5 aggregates, and also our body consists of the 5 elements. So the 5 aggregates that make up our being are the aggregate of form, the aggregate of feelings, of perception, of karmic formation in the mind, and of consciousness. And then the 5 elements are earth, water, fire, wind, and space. And the body and the mind of one person is like the microcosm of the entire outer universe, as the universe consists of the same matter, the same 5 elements. So the universe is complete within one's own body and mind. And then secretly within one's mind, there are the 5 afflictions from an impure perspective. But then if the mind ripens through bodhicitta, then these 5 afflictions transform into the 5 wisdoms. And then you attain enlightenment. From an unripe perspective, in an unripe state, there are the 5 afflictions, and then one affliction leads to the other. So then a desire leads to greed, and so on. So then the mind becomes poisoned, and then a poison ripens. So that's the other direction of ripening. Then we ripen downward in the 6 realms of samsara. So when there is self-grasping, that leads to the ripening of the 6 realms in samsara. If there is bodhicitta, an altruistic mind, then the mind ripens into the 5 wisdoms, and then naturally the various Buddha forms and Pure Lands and so on begin to manifest, ripen. So temporarily, there is an actual the Pure Lands and the Hell realms actually exist. Of course, ultimately, nothing really ultimately exists. They also lack any stability, any permanence, because whatever appears is empty of self-nature. Whatever appears always changes. Nothing possesses any true self-sufficient existence. Everything is changeable. And because everything is empty, everything changes. But what appears as the Pure Lands and the Hell realms is a temporary, real existence. And so it is that the perfect Buddhas arise from the altruistic mind. So if we follow this path of bodhicitta, for example, a person receives an empowerment and then practices the deity. It begins with first cultivating bodhicitta. And then one begins to practice the deity. For example, now we practice Chunrezik. And so first one should begin this practice with an understanding that by doing the practice of a single deity, we are actually practicing all the deities. We are accomplishing all the deities. And that is because within the expanse of primordial wisdom, all the Buddhas are actually one. So therefore, by accomplishing a single deity, you accomplish all the deities. All the deities are complete within a single deity. And a single deity embodies all the Buddhas of the 3 times. So with that understanding, you begin your practice of Chunrezik, for example. And then you recite the mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum. then you understand what is the essence of that mantra. The essence of the Om Mani Padme Hum mantra is the 6 paramitas. And actually, the essence of all mantras are included within the Mani mantra. So it is sufficient to practice a single one. It is sufficient to practice only one deity. And so that sometimes can get a bit confusing because everywhere it says, whatever practice we do, it says this is the most special one, the most precious one. You only need to practice this one and nothing else. And then you look somewhere else and it says the exact same thing about another deity. So you wonder, like, who is really precious now? What's the most precious one really? So actually that was I had a similar conflict like that before in the past too, because nowadays we just need to find that which is most special. Somehow we have a need to find what is most special. And so we try to find what is most special, and so that's what I did. And then I practiced Yamantaka, and there it says, he is the king of all deities. And then I practiced Vajrakilaya, and it said the exact same thing. So I wonder, who is the king now, and who is most precious? So I had a lot of doubts about that. But I finally understood that what they are really saying is, if you practice only that deity, then all the deities are included within that. So that is why every deity is the most precious deity. And so these are the actual words of the Buddha, and the Buddha wouldn't tell us a lie. So if you practice Chenrezig, then you should understand that all deities are included in Chenrezig. Or if you practice Amitabha, all deities are included in Amitabha. And all benefit of sentient beings is accomplished by the practice of only one deity. And so actually they all arise from the same expanse. Actually the Dharmakaya is Amitabha, and then the Sambhogakaya, Amitabha then appears as the Sambhogakaya Chenrezig. The Sambhogakaya appears like a cloud in the sky of the Dharmakaya. And it arises and appears to us through our devotion to the deity, and then the love that the deity has for us. And then we practice the deity, the sadhana, we accomplish the deity until we become the deity. And so this accomplishing the deity is just like extracting butter from milk. You are churning the milk so long until you extract a piece of butter. And so that is similar to the sadhana practice. You practice the deity, like churning the milk, until you accomplish the deity, until like this piece of butter or this Sambhogakaya form of Chenrezig actually appears. And what appears then is like a rainbow in the sky. It is very clear, but ungraspable, translucent. So that's the Sambhogakaya. The Nirmanakaya of Amitabha and Chenrezig is Padmasambhava Guru Rinpoche, who had actually appeared in this world, an actual emanation of the Buddha himself. And in terms of Nirmanakaya, actually all beings in the 6 realms are actually Nirmanakayas. So we all are really Nirmanakayas. But because our mind remains unripe, then temporarily it is in a way a useless Nirmanakaya. But once we ripen our mind stream, then that Nirmanakaya attains enlightenment. And so when we engage in practice now, it begins with first cultivating bodhicitta. And then in order to ripen the body, you visualize the deity, you practice the generation stage. In order to ripen the speech, you recite the mantra of the deity. And so in terms of the visualization of the deity, it is very difficult for anyone to visualize the entire form of the deity. And so therefore for us, what is most important is the mantra garland of the deity. And we focus first on the seed syllable surrounded by the mantra garland, and think that that mantra garland really represents Chenrezig. It really is Chenrezig. And actually everything in the outer level, the outer 5 elements, appear as the 5 impure elements, but ultimately they really are the 5 Dakinis, the female goddesses. And within the mind, the 5 afflictions really are the 5 wisdoms if you give rise to bodhicitta. And so it is important first to understand that the afflictions really can become the 5 wisdoms if you only give rise to bodhicitta. So for the visualization, it is most important for us now to visualize the mantra garland and think that that represents the deity. So you visualize it on a moon disk, a small moon disk, just like the size of like a watch or so. You visualize this moon disk, and on top of that, the seed syllable surrounded by the mantra garland, Om Mani Padme Hum. And then visualize these syllables, the mantra garland, over and over again until it becomes very clear in your mind in an instant. And so that, when that becomes stable, then you have accomplished the first branch, which is the approach. And then, once you have accomplished that, then slowly you begin to circulate. And so here in the first step now, when you're chanting, when you're visualizing the mantra syllables, you are also reciting Om Mani Padme Hum mantra. And you should recite the mantra very clearly, because it is that if you pronounce the syllables very precisely, very clearly, you speak them out very clearly, it actually is also good for your physical health, especially it heals all kinds of stomach-related illnesses, but also it increases your wisdom, because the more clear your pronunciation, the more clear your mind will be, so wisdom awareness increases. So that is the first step, the approach. And then you come to the close approach. So once the mantra garland is clear, then it begins to circle slowly first. And then you don't even say at times the mantra out loud any longer. Then you just visualize, you meditate on the mantra garland as it spins around the seed syllable. And then when you get used to that, then it begins to accelerate and it begins to spin very fast. It accelerates so fast that you cannot even perceive it with your eye any longer. It's too fast. For example, it's like the engine of a jet plane. First you can see the spokes of the wheel, and then when it begins to turn, it accelerates and gets faster, and then you can't even see the turning any longer. You can't see the wheel anymore because it's too fast. And then you only hear the sound. So at this point you only hear the natural sound of the mantra that comes from the spinning mantra garland, just like a jet engine. So that then is the second one, the accomplishment of the close approach. And then when that is habituated, then you come to the accomplishment, the third branch, and then from that spinning mantra garland, light radiates. And that light has the nature of love. It is the great love of the deity. And so that love light expands gradually. First, you allow it to reach your surroundings, then your town, then your country, then all the countries in the world. The entire world becomes pervaded by the light of great love. So basically, what pervades really is your wish to benefit sentient beings. And so then once the entire world is pervaded, then think that there is millions and billions of such worlds and world systems, and they all become pervaded by this light of great love. So think that all the sentient beings, limitless as space, become pervaded by this love light. And so at that time, when you accomplish that accomplishment branch, a sign of that is that your own love, the love in your own heart increases. So that is the third branch, the accomplishment.
There is Haji custom with any Trukayon Tishi Chevole, Trukayo Tishila, 3 Chukota local Lauri, Trukayon Tisha, that Chuluk Drameda, Total Drameda. Sanji Senji Ni, Daji Ni, Tetamche, Ni, Chongdo, Grady, Trukushiva, the Kashika, oh, that in the thing comes the Tama that knew it. Lama gives you something with your triple carrot, Senji Tamji Tamapare, the Risamuyore, or Tia Halabre, that Derdata, the Zina Mary, Tamatukare, then Derzaki Chushene, Derzaki Sentina, Derziga. Yoshi Chushi, Tordio, but the Trukaredi, they could paying the Mari city really with Juna, Sanji districting boy, Yobate. They got laid on Pachago, one got to the daughter to Sosu, Jordi, or the Japan, Tanchu Gomba, Sobari, Kangri, junri kichik sambara so kichik nyu mo sambara so ke te teng to cha te ro cha do ben she da ma do da para da to de la so ba o te to samba de ni ji ga so cha da ji to do yin ning ji o ke ni bo te tam ji ka ri de sem ga so lo bo de cha yo le ti de ba de se chali ko to de sing ji bo de ji ba yo ma ri 냐와나 로또 차지면 나와 찰래요. 들이 대식이 뭐 초라 좋아 말이야. 들이 차지 대식이 뭐 초라요 말이야. 대식이 뭐대 도지 장송 다부지 하는 야선을 고 야들어야 요 말이지. 미성술을 로만 못설로 초라줘야 요 말이지. 그래서 대식이 뭐대 도지랑지 도지 장대 그래서 라마 교신이 도지도 바시고 되게 좀 거리 대식이 뭐 세이나 냠도 요리 다도 마다니가 변도 들어서 차 뒤지를 대신 좀 보여리 내가 레그를 하고 류모시 당을 하고 또 그런다고 저거리 뒤레지 장성선이 되시고 내가 가시라고 다 참아 두가 쳤도 우선 들이 데려다 내가 레 박차도 다야요 다들이 다 말아 탑let이 다야요 하고 들이 냠슬이도 전부 요거요
So then, of the three kayas of the Buddha, what is most important is to understand the qualities of the Nirmana kaya actually. Because if you understand the qualities of the Nirmana kaya, then it is much easier to understand the qualities of the Dharmakaya and the Sambhoga kaya. So in this world, there is a great variety of different religions and lineages and so on. There is Buddhas and sentient beings, self and other, and there is a countless duality. And so if you understand the qualities of the Nirmana kaya, then that fixation, this dualistic grasping, that will get lesser. So you understand that actually, ultimately, all are Nirmana kayas. And only temporarily in this world there are pure and impure Nirmana kayas. So some people think that the gurus, the spiritual teachers, they are the real Nirmana kayas, the turkus, and then the sentient beings are just ordinary. And so to some extent that is true for the time being, but they both already are actually also Nirmana kayas. So those who tame and those to be tamed, they are both humans and they are both Nirmana kayas. And one explains the Dharma and the other listens and is tamed by the Dharma. But they all are Nirmana kayas because they all possess a mind, and that mind by nature is Buddha nature. And only temporarily, due to various karmas and habitual tendencies, they create the bodies of the 6 realms of samsara. Lord Jigten Sumgön had said in the Gongchik that the karmic ripening is the reflection of the momentary thought. So the momentary affliction that arises in the mind is projected in the form of a certain body. For example, the natural manifestation or the projection of hatred, for example, is a poisonous snake or a scorpion. And the manifestation of a being with at least some love and kindness, for example, is a bird or some other beautiful animal. So all the various manifestations are manifestations of the inner mind, of whatever there is within the mind. And that all is temporary. Whenever those obscurations, those karmas are exhausted, then Buddha nature is still there, and it has never changed in any way. It is still the same. So even if that being has wandered in the hell realm, in the lower states of existence for thousands of lifetimes, when they become free from those states, Buddha nature still is as it has always been. It has never been spoiled in any way. So we call this nature also Vajradhara. It is stable like a Vajra. And then later, even if one attains birth in the Pure Lands, Buddha nature hasn't gotten any better. It is still the same as it always has been. So that is also actually where the Vajra master arises from that realization, the Vajra holder or Vajradhara. And so Buddha nature is always there. Everyone has Buddha nature, whether we are pure or impure temporarily. For example, animals and all beings, they all possess Buddha nature. And only temporarily we appear in various shapes and forms due to our individual karmas. For example, a poisonous snake is the reflection of hatred and so on. But when that karma becomes cleared away, then what remains always is Buddha nature. And so that is why we say all beings, everyone really is nirmana kaya. If we understand that, then we understand that our karmas and habitual tendencies, those imprints, are only temporary, so they can actually be removed. And we can remove them by relying on various skillful means, such as the deity practice, the mantra recitation. So if you know that, then you will become inspired to engage in practice.
semde magonda semde nepe jiju mangban dönüstü da çadang monsum naptolunga tingane salon tongli tingane da çova dedok de çadang de to ba jicheme ba jego래这个semde 첫쪽 연구요래 지금 하다 콜로 데 탑절로 돌아 하다 그 때라 저부터 살로다는 지금 파다로 가시 먼저 때다 제는 제가 naptol에 지금 단념이 쌓치 보이나 아 양네 제름 그 누구야 말이지 제름 매라 되게 요래지 파치를 라당 하테라서 passar 못해 되게 생 파타도 그래 대회는 들이 막고 고바다지 대설에 들이 타고 막고 공탐내야 내가 말 사람들 시바서 마디 자와 상족처럼 톡대 요래 습지가 가니 들이 라디 제와디다 랑게 대바다 라게 제와야 내가 그래요. 이제를 라고 센터 항선이 제발미 받이 이제 주니게 된 바서. 근데 또 없으면 나그 사람도 또 소속 대바가 또 소속 대바다 이치가 또 돼. 사지가 또 사지 탑지가 이게 주체에 봐 센지 탑지라 마치 못 봤다면 요래 다른 진에서 로지는 송지 진에서 결혼만 빠먹어요. 로마보도 마통 진에서 총아 마통을 나 참 접사들이 냠들 오지 진에서 송마티 무엇이래 무슨 라지야 삼지들이 그것도 보면 라지 진바사들 라지 냠들 요리 동다보면 라지 뭐지 세우 윤주관 정말 청롱으로 차대 우리 참 라타 요는 가서 함도 시바 들리진 하고 때 양단도 걸었더니 체지 동안에 뭐 그게 같이 파상나서도 요래 내게들이 나 적용수 시바서 들리진 하지 어제 접지 시시나 들리진 하 출발 시바다 딱 전고만 하고 고시고 세로 대박제 그래 그리고 저걸 대박이 아니 그때 그리고 저걸 어디 실험제도 다시 감답제 요바시 사지 답제 요바시는 다들 대박지 봐서 대박제들이 그런 저들이 제그들이 가래에서는 주버지는 번호 소비시 감사는 주바를 주고 요래 나 주바시 봐지 동화를 합듯이 봐나 공부하던 데들이 타바도 봐용 그러니까 정도 시바들 되게 레파차다 그러니까 주바시 봐도 타바시 하면 주바를 사지신 장미 버들이 라고 보다 정말 되었던데 주바사다 호모를 저들이 주바 장미 봐 버쪽이요래 생각들이 이제는 장미 봤잖아요 세부까지서 나서 저거래 나 주바시 봐서 들리라고 니도 파마 늘 때라서 왔으면 이제 있잖아. 설로가를 삼대지디 들리잖아. 말을 들리지. 라 강에 와지 마지. 자가 말라시 받으나. 말라야 저대 요래. 마 사람들 시바가 정수 시바가 주발 시바가 말라시 받. 들이 양단한테 제 곰들이 하고 빼 줬고 고르시 때 좀 참아고 시잖아. 들이더라. 무릎도 시바데 무릎도 가리 라고 생긴 라디 제야메 바차 다 요말 다음에 들이 라디 니지 좀 보지는 들리는 이 생데 라고 생이 이제 집어야 봐 내가 고소 마도 없은 지도 등이 치 보여리 벤레드 메시 나쁜 점이 미시는 거죠. 너희 충충도 제보절로 들으란 거를 아시자고요. 나 대화지. 나도 그냥 다른 제지 봐. 망고 대화 그저 dom시 봐 차지. 망고 dom시 봐. 사실 좀 제야매 봐 차거리. 뒤그는 거네 지나요 팽거리들이 따라랑들이 봐도 담보리. 사실 좀 지금 포화 고고 말이. 띠껴 고고 말이. 라마요 고고 말이 포화 고고 라고 세비 라티 세비 말이라. 셀루드 칸 온도리. 루즈도 칸 남지도 보지. 남지대 살을 저대요. 가시가 라마한테 받쳐 보여래. 오 라마 쌤님 맞지나? 밑에서 보고서는 남시 라마 어서는 포에 줘대. 라고 싸울 라마한테 맞지나? 제일 뭐 포가 싸울 먹고서 나 이거 쌤고 라마를 줘대. 라마가 와우리 때리 좀 차도 고요래. 대회들이 막 좀더 시바서 딸 시바가 배용 나 청송에 정말 내가 그래. Thank you. 나 자도 보면.
Wait a minute, where was it? So, I am. So we have said that. Wait a minute. Yeah. So the approach, close approach, and accomplishment, and so then. It is important also to understand the benefits of the mantra garland. And the mantra itself has actually is really very powerful. So the first power, the benefit of the mantra is like a blessing. So when you do not visualize the mantra garland and you do not recite the mantra, then you think about ordinary things. Then you think about what happened in the past, you anticipate the future, you rise to all kinds of thoughts of desire and attack and anger and ignorance, and all kinds of thoughts arise in your mind and you keep thinking. And then all kinds of feelings arise of pleasure and pain and happiness, sadness and so on, all the time. And as you keep thinking about all kinds of things, as you think, the mind becomes more and more obscure. And so therefore, on the other hand, if you direct your mind to the deity and the mantra garland, you think about the mantra garland, then actually you are purifying habitual imprints instead of creating more obscurations. So some people think that the visualization of the deity is just another thought. And to some extent it is another thought, but also we need some kind of reference point in the beginning. Of course, if we really are unaffected by anything, there's no grasping at all in our mind, then it is also fine not to visualize anything. But for the most part, we have all kinds of thoughts in our mind, and so for this reason, we need to direct our mind and focus our mind to the visualization, the mantra garland, visualization of the deity, so that our impure thoughts become purified. So in that way, by always visualizing the mantra garland, then you receive blessings. So the mantra is, the first benefit of the mantra is, it is a blessing. It is a blessing because the essence of the mantra is bodhicitta. Because the mantra is the deity, and the deity has great love for beings. And you establish a connection to the deity if you give rise to devotion. So actually, on the basis, by nature, your mind already is indivisible from the deity. That is the truth of reality itself, the dharmata. But temporarily, we do establish a connection to the deity if we give rise to devotion. And so actually we accomplished the deity by virtue of three powers. So the first one was this power of this ultimate reality. And then secondly, there is the power of your own devotion. And then thirdly, there's the power of all the Buddha's great compassion. The Buddhas love all sentient beings just like a mother loves her only child. So we have heard today in the morning when we read the historical background of Chenrezig, when Gelongma Palmo finally accomplished Chenrezig and he appeared, she said that so long I have practiced you and you have never appeared to me. And he responded, actually, I have been with you since the very beginning. It is just that you couldn't see me due to your obscurations. So that the deity is actually always there. From a relative perspective, the moment you just think of the deity is actually really there. And then from an ultimate perspective, you never really separate from the deity because it is your own mind. You are connected just like the mala beads on a string. So you're actually very close to the deity. So first, in the beginning, you visualize the deity again and again, and that in that way you receive the blessings of the deity, the love of the deity. That's the first benefit. Then the second benefit is the deity or the mantra garland also becomes a purification of obscurations. And that is because when you visualize the mantra garland, then the obscurations of the various negative thoughts and emotions, all the non-virtuous and unwholesome thoughts, all are purified. So it becomes a purification. And then the third benefit is the mantra also becomes an offering. And that is when the mantra garland then circulates, then light rays radiate from it, and naturally they make offerings to all the Buddhas in the Pure Lands. And so how that happens is naturally, it comes from your own devotion and your own knowledge of the qualities of the three jewels. You know that there are the three jewels and they have these qualities and they all live in those pure lands, and you give rise to devotion. And the moment you give rise to devotion, many clouds of offerings are extend to the pure lands of the 10 directions and make offerings there. So first we receive the blessing of the deity that purifies our ordinary thinking. Secondly, we purify our karmas and habitual imprints in the mind. And thirdly, the mantra garland also makes offerings, endless offerings to all the Buddhas in the Pure Lands. Now think that everything you own, including your own family, everything transforms into offering gods and goddesses and is made an offering to the countless Pure Lands pervaded by the Buddhas. So actually you can emanate countless forms and bodies that make offerings, because you can create anything with your mind. Whatever you think of, that is what your mind can become. So you can pervade your mind you can pervade all sentient beings with compassion through the power of your own mind. And so then the next benefit, the fourth benefit of the mantra, is the mantra also represents the deity itself. So when you always visualize the mantra garland, then, and as the mantra garland spins and circulates, think that with each rotation, deities are sent outward, and with great compassion they accomplish the benefit of sentient beings. And then the fifth benefit is the mantra garland also represents the siddhi, or the attainment. And the siddhi is attained when you never forget about the deity any longer. When you think of the deity, you do not think of yourself. Then the great compassion of the deity enters your mind, and you recognize that your own mind on the basis actually is the deity. And then you see that those sentient beings who have not realized that, they experience much suffering. And that mainly is because they do not understand the workings of karma. And if you don't understand karma, actually, even the slightest little problem appears to be a really huge problem. And some people even commit suicide when the slightest thing goes wrong. But if you know how to engage in practice, if you understand karma, then you will not regard suffering as a negative thing. You will, first of all, you will see that it purifies your own negative karma. you see it like a necessary surgery. And when you have a really bad illness, then you must sometimes at times must have a surgery. But that's a good thing. You want to have that surgery. And so in the same way, then you would think suffering is actually a good thing. It purifies my negative karma like a surgery. Or if you experience some well-being, you're happy today, then you would know that is because I have cultivated love, bodhicitta. And so now I must practice even more generosity, ethical discipline and patience and so on. So if you understand karma, you will be able to accept your present circumstance and you will be able to create your own happiness in the future. So you accomplish the deity when at a point where you never again forget about the deity. And actually when you accomplish the deity, so then actually is the time when you can really benefit others. And so it is said that when you reach a point where you never forget about the deity any longer, you attain enlightenment in the first bardo. And in that case, actually, you have no more need for any separate practice of poa. You don't need to rely even on the help of your guru any longer because you have accomplished the deity. As it is said in the 37 practices, consciousness, the guest, will cast aside the guest house of the body. So you cast aside the guest house of your body, and then the consciousness, never forgetting about the deity, becomes the deity. And so then you really are the deity, and there's no need for a separate poa. Or there is some who have a very strong devotion to the guru, and then they become the essence of the guru. Lord Chikten Somgen also said, if you never forget about the guru, always think about your guru, then at death your mind will merge with the clear light heart of the guru. And then there is no need for a separate practice of poa also any longer. And so this is what happens if you always think of the guru or the deity. And so that is what we call accomplishment or the siddhi. So that's the fifth benefit or the fifth power of the mantra garland.
Ni rang choje ni khol samje yung nga khol ka ding chimbo yin sang go yo re te samje yung ji ma shi ba re o samje yung ji chin me jing lo o de won pong dong ge jing samje jing o zhen khol de nga samje chimbo de top song de nga top de samje yi khong nga ka ding chimbo re 노바 때문에 제가 주바 톱송 콩나 노바 땅 내서 주바 건들면 주바 톱송세 산쪽세 소바 제디다데 삼제데 용지레시 이는 삼제지는 말까든 지금 나한테는 계산 톱송 삼제레 삼제 문이게 살이 다 삼제지는 말 피지데 파야 말 피마미 가야 메스 다 semji 피소는 득지 말 피나 피마 피나 피 이는 피소는 득도 다시지 문에서 이거서 사정 제와리 깜들이 들이다 라라데 말한데나 들이다 다면서 쇼 소호 가래나 별에 쇼라 다 장토체네요 쇼호들 라그지와 침보는 쇼호들 진이잖아 쇼호들 지랑 진기요래 지랑 쇼호들 진데 내가 자공 인양도 절 가야 패거 말해 누구요래 다른 체지 차당을 내라 속바삭바 대진지 박차게 누구요래 야 깜들이 sabte 신이나 사진은 오 쇼들 sabte 피고는 톱지 당을 사진은 들이 저랑 사고 차디요래 맨 쫓아오는 게 차는데 바로 보지고 샘지 다니 매바서 들이 문에들이 핀트 이거를 배거래 들이가 사고 산당을 지네 핀트 이거 배거래 되게들이 쇼스 못 가래나 배거래 뒤에다가 들이 랍다와나 다 심지 섭지 세병가 셈 뜻바는 바테 태송매 봐 니지 자와는 대다 주고 보아야 돼 밑에다가 들이 셈지 바시 납시 삼지 남지가 생문 내록도 고소 시작하면 랍 사기 고방도 내면 시작하면지 되면 토리를 지에서 보여 봤은 거라고 요래 쇼던지 샤송던지 같이 야지산 타는데 오 기와나 보체던지 톱지 시험을 줘요. 양 같이 레집도 따는 미시던지 뭐 기와 먹어서는 말지 사타를 랍상 말 줘요. 바마 발 기와도 뭐 기와 랍치 뭐 매와 말씀좀 못했다면서 다 바시를 하면 체체 마도 봐도 되고 요래 로 잡서 도하면 뭐 되고 그 체체 마도 봐도 다다가 체체도 봐도 체체를 뭐 해봐요. 근데 뒤에 담기를 들이자 음식 팬 거를 자소다 때라서 봐지나 근데 집이 말아리 봐 랍치라 가서나 들이 로마 탐지 초피들이 오진이 말아리 봐 마시네 들이 말아리 봐 깝테라 말아리 봐 무슨 잡을 거는 말아리 봐 오 깝테는 가지니 삼천원더니 가지 총고 깝삼천원 가 좋고 야도 뒤가는 무슨 기능이 해석도 저도 초피봐야지 당연히 쇼를 게 자신은 은혜 팽개도 다 홍태주 가라 토마토니 무슨 좋고 나니 렘드스니 좋고 야송 빼세다를 들이 식성 가리는 랑나 피바다 이나 되게 랑지 돈이 냠들도 봐도 돼 강리소나 사당 말을 때니 사족샘소 사족샘을 때니 내가 다 사족을 피는데 웃었더데 들이 마 이빈지 놓아도 시바도 돼 강나때니 사당 말을 때니 저거 요래 마그 피는 타도가 시고 요래 되지네 다 참은 거 말이 따따리 아직 가라 좀처럼 마 이빈지 놓아도 시바도 가리게를 덮고 요래 해서 되게 쳐버렸.
So, the actual city of accomplishing the deity is bodhicitta. And so there is generally two kinds of cities, two kinds of attainment. There is the common cities, and that is temporarily in all future lifetimes we will obtain the qualities of the higher realms. And then the supreme city, the supreme attainment, is to attain in the state of enlightenment. And so we attain enlightenment, we engage in practice gradually, and beginning with cultivating bodhicitta. So there's actually 3 levels to that cultivation. So first of all, all beings have love. Even as ordinary beings, all possess love. But our love is in a way misunderstood. For example, we love a friend, and then because we love them very much, we think that actually I'm being very nice, very kind to my friend. But actually that also shows that you don't really understand the quality of love. If you really understand the quality of love, then you would think in this way. Then, for example, when you see a poor person and you help them, you feel love for them, then you would think that actually that poor person, he is very kind to me because through him I have developed love. And then when somebody hurts you, you would cultivate patience. So through them, through their kindness, you are able to develop more patience. So in the beginning, when you give rise to bodhicitta, you first understand that the quality, must understand the quality of love. And that actually that others are kind to you when they allow you, help you to cultivate love. So first, you see that bodhicitta is for your own greatest benefit, actually. All others are kind to you. But then later, next, when actual love has arisen in your mind, then you don't think about your own benefit any longer. You don't think about how you should benefit from that. Then you just think, it doesn't matter what happens to me, it doesn't matter if I get any benefit from it, as long as others are happy, as long as others are benefited. So that is the only thing that counts. And that is actually when you have cultivated relative bodhicitta. And so at that time, when you really have cultivated such a relative bodhicitta, and on the basis of that you practice the deity and recite the mantra, then you can really be of great benefit to those who are alive and those who have passed away. For example, you want to help somebody who has passed away, and you help them because you love them very much, and you think of them with love. And then also their consciousness thinks of you with love. But if that love is ordinary, then the mind, both minds, is like a block of ice. So two blocks of ice cannot help each other. They actually can only hurt each other. Because when you think of each other with love, then it rather becomes an attachment. You begin to think about all the wonderful moments of this life, and many thoughts of attachment and desire again arise, and you begin to reinforce again these habitual tendencies. And so in this way, actually, you're causing more harm than benefit when you think of them with love. If you really understand the quality of love, and you really want to help a person who has passed away, then you don't think of them in this ordinary way, but you think of the Yidam deity. And then your mind becomes like hot water. Then there is no attachment. And because your mind becomes like hot water, you can melt also the consciousness's self-grasping. And so in that way, the deity benefits both yourself and also the other person. So ideally, if you have realized the view, the nature of the mind, you have no doubts in your mind. You have recognized my own mind is the mind of all beings of the Buddha. And that is when there is no more grasping at a duality, when there is no more dualistic perception of self and other, and then at the time of death, all that is required is a dharmakaya pova. There is no other pova required. And so when the consciousness then has gone on to the bardo state, then ideally they realize the nature of the mind. And when they realize the nature of the mind, they attain enlightenment in the best case, or they are born in the Pure Lands, or at least they are born somewhere in the higher realms. So there's different ways in which we, move on after death. And that the juncture of the time of our death determines which way we will go. So there is some who have practiced a very powerful virtue in their life. They are in a very positive state when they die, and then in an instant they are born in the Pure Lands. They move to the Pure Lands. And then there is others who have never really understood karma and have only engaged in negative actions, and then they will quickly go down and take birth in the lower states of existence. And then there is those in between who have practiced some virtue, but also a great deal of non-virtue, and at the end of their life, then they go into the bardo, and they stay in this state in between, this transitory state, for a long time. Actually, many stay for many years, for as long as their lifespan was determined. So they will stay in the bardo until the end of that lifespan. So they stay for a very long time, and therefore it is actually very beneficial, especially to practice the purification for the deceased, for those beings in this between state. For example, there was a story about Milarepa. Once Milarepa was blocked over the winter in Lapchi, and his disciples in the meantime thought that he must have died, but he didn't die, but they thought he died, so sometimes they would offer a feast offering on his behalf. But then later, when they met him again, Milarepa recounted that sometimes Dakinis would appear and offer a feast offering, and then sometimes he would just feel full naturally. He would even feel like taste a flavor of food in his stomach. And actually the disciples thought that he had died and offered a feast offering. So it happened that exactly on those days where they offered a feast offering, where they dedicated their virtues for him, on those days he felt naturally nourished and not hungry. And so Milarepa then thought at that time, so these practices then really must be of great benefit for those who actually have passed away. When we make these offerings and dedications, therefore it benefits ourselves and also brings benefit or happiness to others. And that is what we call accomplishing the dual purpose of others and oneself. So we accomplish it through bodhicitta, the mantra recitation, the deity visualization. That is what accomplishes all temporary and ultimate benefit and happiness. And so therefore there is actually a sixth benefit of the mantra. The sixth benefit is the mantra is like a wish-fulfilling jewel. So actually in the scriptures it is explained that the mantra possesses 9 benefits, but these are all not essential for us. What most important are those 5 that we just mentioned, and then also the 6th one, the wish-fulfilling jewel, which means that through the mantra recitation, we really can accomplish anything. So that is therefore also a very important point.
펫들이 다루나 이런 뭐 가만히 있으면서 자다가 배가
Take a break for 20 minutes.
together here. This is mine. This is Abu Lamas. They have a lot. Page 35. This one came here. What happened? Yeah, don't know.
아빠 좋아.
Okay. Okay, page 35.
아빠 좋아.
35, we're going to do one Tibetan only. No time to do English and Tibetan both. We don't have time to do. So one time Tibetan, okay? Page 35. So you can just somebody if you can read English if you want, but generally we're going to read Tibetan. Page 35. This Buddha Amitabha Sadhana. Buddha Amitabha Sadhana. Buddha. Sini kan ya no. Ana ya den. Ane che chhe de sa do apne parjong de sa ane. Te kaza kalchik ta dai je re. Denje namgar lama oba me bala gorza jo zamba bade me be gorwa ngusa yo bar yo. Page 36. Namo gonjo som dai zawa son jam ne nam lai jab sem che Drogen sanje lango se sanjun yo de sem je do Namo gonjo som dai zawa son jam ne nam lai jab sem che Drogen sanje lango se sanjun yo de sem je do Namo to the three givers and the three roots, the place of protection. I go for refuge in order to establish all beings in Buddhahood. I give rise to my city on supreme awakening. Soja de zon yoba ye jarwa se je dam je la gene dam ve sanze lo me do be mar me je yar ze ro mo la so ngen jor ye je ne bo pa be so je ye so to ma me ne da de bar Mege jada zame nga semne nyamo wanjarabe deba damje yabaraje nyende ranjara sanjoze soze jewo lazobe tezonge wa jezaba sonam lane dayera simje namje zambada Lo ye zerai jedawar che jong de mon de ba ye che jong golo gordo zor korwai je ze ma dong bar nyang ne men dai du je ye do ngara jam zoi sing wa ye sim je nam lai ze zor dai ge so nai je za ba Tamje sanjo jojo ne rimboro modon rowa ye rimbe barde da jo je zo ye nam rang la dembe da da sem jen gen je jul seme ye lo je bar jo sem jen de da den jo je dong har gen da ja war jo De dai da de men ra yin da nyong jian bo ne jo ro je ai na zen go ren de chi gen ra yin dong ma dong ko wa ren chen na nie re mo dong sa ren yin je song jo sa ren dai ne ra re re ye ga ro bo yong jo le Be de den de ranye jere ze gyar je sa ye da jar ben den ze she ye sam be nyam je long ge je ge me be me na no je zhong yo den je nam gar be de den den de she ye mar bo wo ze ram bar ve so je san se nye bar se chen ze nim de de ne re la de la yan wo ze ro zho ne zhen zhi sim je le nai dan zhen ba jia jiang wo ze re de re ye ne jo wa zhou wei jiang jiu san je wo ba mi ma zara be mai ra ge len bo dar shar je sa nye nyam ya long zen zen chi ge nam son sor jen je zhong yu tu je jin jen zhou la da de ze san je gen je da nye jen bo sar te ye ye ze bam jo jen re ze shar je sa nye yong be be garan zen gar bo ren jin 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 yin da yo zo wei yong de jar sen de jian do shar je sa nye yong be dor jian zen ngong bo ren jin 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 yin da yo kor de san sen gen den zo je kor so we ne son de son sen ba le ho zo ga ma ran den son so je da che ba ra de wa jin je yin den zhi nan dan go je do dan ju go de ge je nye la ne de jin ra ju de jin yin gam ne ran dai len do nan dai gor dai je do ne dam ze ye 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 me ja ze jin do je long ne zo je go me be lo dan sam ba nam ro de to da wang ge ne de ye ne ja na zo be ma da we den den de tam ze jin go ren de dai ni me yo o a mi de wa sa pa re wa re ben za sa ma za sa hong ba o sa ma ya de da le Ram yang ga ong a hong ong a hong ong a hong om sarvam be pura pura sura sura avar de be so ha om ben za savarana kam om sarvam be pura pura sura sura avar de be so ha om ben za savarana kam om sarvam be pura pura sura sura avar de be so ha om ben za savarana kam 日因来接单等本接用的金别让人加入下的不若根就往本松所就了解那是人有灭一万下是人的此真让人加入下的不若根是被动化解就了解拉在没多那son这般的，就别让人加入进来不，这个都是用的有，人家加入终究都变的，从这让人加入上来不，这个是本清了这玩意有。萨贤那为人间出面的，三德让人加入多拉布，这根这了龙门塞瓦尔有，各个拉松爱的面接家，西热让人加入个拉布，这爱跟着今年都瓦尔有。若家就当等被下人的，他接让人加入加拉布，若跟等人世间做完了有，别当着所年节若没做，都接让人加入年拉布，若跟上就人当等把了有。王波真正的被用的啊，莫来让人家外南拉布，若给上面的问我把了有，这些在大街大家在等，一切让人家外南拉布。若给上街用的都把了用，萨瓦本咱们这萨瓦人萨玛耶阿吽。东松一的让家当姐姐，大的松大马松二波大，大的龙就都把进去吧，天没的见人的不瓦也，若跟当真让也上身的。南大人的都没结瓦了有人那们着本咱们高，让人上街都别动三字，谁动正面那人就半步，人人只难今年弄得下。故所人家做了结业让，途界见见没被见过过，空的更加让人这个有，可所妹妹叫大前不我，热的见人的结见过了过。sem je nam lai da de du ye ze tam ja yar ye ro we dong ze be nan da nya ya ze la san za ra do jie re ze dan de jian do la so yar ze san sen zha jiang ba be zo的见人的有别拉做拉，人啊也从个别咋了都。 wa so do ga re da de ren da ra ye do ye se te ye wo le ngan den ga ro bo de do ga ne do den je do Go so do je do dang go ren han de do ge ren da ngan de le o zo ra mar bo ngan de yar ne do rang ge yar yo zen la nge do te da ra je me je de go ro ye nga le wo zo ra ga do na zo je so je zan ze nye ba ze kam zon zem je gen je zhe zon ja nu je nam da de je yen de jo om ame de wa ro ame de om ame de wa ro ame de wa ro ame de wa ro ame de
This is how my living.
So now we're going to do this Sancho ritual. This one. Afflictions, the objects to the bond. Kalasha Sarvaside Om Amedeva Kalasha Savaside 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 Om Beda Amrita Kodale Beda Amrita Kodale Beda Amrita Kodale Beda Amrita Kodale Om Beda Amrita Kodale Om Beda Amrita Kodale Om Beda Amrita Kodale Om Beda Amrita Kodale Beda Amrita Kodale Om Beda Om Beda Di Dong Jin Beng Ngo Wa Ban Jia
若觉得就
唵本扎阿姆尔达格雷哈那那嗡贝嗡巴索巴瓦谢达萨瓦达索巴瓦谢达东北安雷明耶当波提雷金巴永世九巴雷切雷德巴西萨瓦空康金吉永世走巴松贝德达尔萨瓦公丘松当金库尔杰拉拉加泽罗因巴尔就杰我牛杰切雷杰巴错瓦塞贝塞塞阿邦杰么中杰杰帕尔内斯松瓦就热着杰丁卡尔杰加科尔维内那德瓦米杰巴尔内松松杰内塞贝东尔萨梅加Eve reja panyo je korwe ne la ma ja ye ma ron lo ba ne ba ye lo de te la ma ye ba ye dan de be sem je ne a ge ne jo ta ma de la la lo bo je ma ra Ge je ye jang de joy ye nam mô sa ran jan de ba dan la na de de sa jen de chen de nam je gar ne ja me be de da ji jo je na me zang ge ja za nam mô sa ran jan ba dan la na de de sa jen de chen de nam je gar ne ja me be de da ji jo je na be zang ge ja za nam mô sa ran jan ba dan la na de de sa jen de chen de nam je gar ne ja me be de da ji jo je na be zang ge ja za hong ba ho ran yang kang ong a hong ong a hong ong a hong sarva be ga le ba le da ka ye ong sarva be ga ne ba le da ka ye ong sarva be ga ba le da ka ye ye na de de ge yong bo ge lo ma ne lo ra ra ne se de ni me ye ye la nga ji ge na sam je jin go ra ye len je ra ho be da ra ya ra Be
家人别在边来拜，这大南界就传的，一切为人之外也。日周萨文四八九文萨瓦达达嘎。阿丁真那阿丁真的萨瓦梆梆阿瓦然巴明格尔唵贝唵阿弥陀瓦是唵达哈达哈萨瓦那然嘎嘎的嘿的唵贝唵巴萨巴萨萨瓦这达嘎嘎的嘿的唵贝Om Mata Mata Savatya Ganga De Hedo Om Pe Om Singda Singda Sarva Nanga De Hedo Om Pe Om Da Da Sarva Asura Ga De Hedo Om Pe Om Brita Brita Sarva Asura Ga De Hedo Om Pe Dara Damba Damba La na je ne zhu zor da, la ye je ne da wa ye, di yang da ge 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 so, om ya sarva da da ga da, abe ge ga de sama ya shi ye wai, om da ye ben bai ya ye nai. Nam de ye ve la zo yo, che ne sen ro ran yin ge, nyu ro zhe ma na ba jiang, om am de wa shi, om sarva da da ga da abe genga, samaya ye re ye om beda sa to samaya mana balaya beda sa to tino ba de dan ro me ba wa su de ga yo me ba wa sa be ga yo me ba wa anera do me ba wa sa wa se de me ba yan za sa wa ga ma sa da me te dan xie yang ko ro hong ha o ba ga re sa wa da da ga da be da ma me Beza ba ma sa ma ya sa do Beza wa da da ga da abe ke ga de sa ma ya je ye wai Li jiang zo pa me lai Teng teng na di tri je che Yi ji che de jian guo ren na Nam xie be mo de zhi bei Ma de ga bo zhi me da, ta pa ra ma je gan ya me, zhen de le na yi zong je, pa kya zhi ma da pa je, om am de wa shi, om ben zar sa to sa ma ya, ma ne pa la ya, ben zar sa to ti no, ti chan zhun zhou me ba wa, su de ga yo me ba wa, su de ga yo me ba wa, ane ra to me ba wa, sarva se de me ba yan za, sarva karma se za me, se dan yi yang gu ro hong ha, wo ba ga ve, sarva da da ga da be da ma me be da ma sa ma ya sa do om sarva da da ga da abe ge ga de sa ma ya je ye ho mo de le se de le me ko ya de le je nyam de la de le ba wen jo som je de le jo de mo nyor je de le je ba la ma la de ba je ra dan ke be de yo la
见过桑波的拉的，谢达的就是鸟儿看。东萨尔灭龙达维达，神那耶达一点个，娘耶一些昂的多，怎么等着有干的，皆一些我多，都将没人那个，所所都被一些年，差多了没有干的。萨瓦这辈一切的康松拉耶内拉的东萨拉一切当的多，阿拉日周一天开，他把一切周个的今天今年东巴来大大马达美亚美，东萨人这见过的。日观念波就有些三界三界的别个，多见真别我你，观就松就萨瓦的拉玛那拉三则罗，公婆都结结连吧。tham见见巴东巴波斯那用的将作业，在夜夜拉桑泽罗，大边的家长为着给人做来着也，记得东南就着吧，学着了就拉桑泽罗，着呢着为拉呀多。拉巴达拉拉的给，先个当巴用的也，人拉呀萨的，绝没些人没有结结个，得结龙就做个人啊做。土界当给家界肉白来，接受这个拉三泽了，三八二八当接啦，现到了跟着长你接，日的把也能给的，叫的这边的外界，将你将做些难接。拉达达耶森见给，可瓦内松杰勒着，特别勒色长子所将内将所接南接，拉达达耶森见给，可瓦内松杰勒着，特别勒色长子所将内将所接南接。大藏他也曾见过，可安内所见来着，特别内所长的所，现在这个大巴拉也不热就，蹦蹦把人家也干。难得大所那所有，全内一切都是叫国外东内周边子，干的就拉万个位，人啊也算是大的，国松走街万头熊，俺们这话是我们，巴拉加萨瓦斯的。贝扎萨多萨玛呀，玛拉巴拉呀，贝扎萨多蒂诺巴，蒂拉罗罗梅巴瓦，苏德嘎尤梅巴瓦，苏贝加尤梅巴瓦，阿那拉达梅巴瓦，萨瓦斯德梅巴呀，萨瓦格玛萨达，自当吉扬古鲁红啊，我巴嘎呀，萨瓦达达嘎达贝扎玛尼，贝扎拉巴玛萨玛呀萨多啊，嘎呀瓦嘎自达。给咱我们让阳光，我们那马萨瓦达达个，白哟贝卓麦克贝 Sarvati Gangade Sarvarena Emangangala Kanso Lama Sarvada Gala Bayo Mekshemia Sarvati Gangade Sarvarena Emangangala Kanso Nama Sarvata Gangade Bayo Mekshemia Sarvati Gangade Sarvarena Emangangala Kanso Sando ye wa ja be ni de ta ma la le de de be ro na da yo da ro be le kan me ja te be sen ja lo jo na so sa to ja da de be ro bo je Long jo te te tre je nor te la long jo je dan den be za wa da na zo zen ba je be ja wa da nyo mo dong wa se we dong wa ja te ze na da za je san la be chen de re ja ba la ngue ba ye Zhi gong dong ma ma le guen jia ne yun jia se zang gong de jia wai juan de yo long juan de da ba mi jia zu zha zhi ro ri za la zo zi ngue se jiang jiang yi jie le zhe ne ai zhen zhen ma da sa jie sin la bi Sen de re ja ba la ne ba ya so do ji ra za ro je je me a ho che par da ro wa re ro lang ju nga jin ne nam ba ye te be yin ye dong de ji ro ba tam je dang wo ri yin hong ba je be ye da de sin ni kar za na ne za na ne ge lo da ja de ne nam be le de por se me le de ma ni se pa par do nya na thang la chap da cho pa me pa gong da pu ni me ba hình chữ sa cha me ba ge ve ram da nyong wa mi ya de ba phong bo so wa tong na je ran je chan chen nang ge nar wa cha to kong sum je dong wa che che la ni ba me ba sa ro long ge de ba kan ro ra man dan ta ve par do sem je te nam je so se va par do ne ba tam je lam bo lo ne ro lo jo sa do ba so ba la che le pa be ba jo je te da je bo la pa pa je le se da sa jo sa ba te ba nam se do par do la par do ye ba mo chi a te la je te ro la ma da ko jo ye da da wa ji sa jin de le nge be te ba ke je la da le re pa la la wa tho de wa ji da be mo la so be je ka che ba ji da zo ro ne ba jo je o nyo je de re ja ba ko ve ne de ka ji ja ya do nga ra som ja ye ya de la ma ja ma ye ba san jo jo de sen je de Xin ye den ba chen ba ji lang ma ra ye ve ba de a ye ma da ngang de do wo sa ra nyen bo ye je le be mo ko
北行得色，那瓦那耶耶那耶别我巴萨哟哟，那耶阿耶那巴呢，阿巴别多个的，叫的就我这就把样子把做别的。拉玛光巴维巴的美巴拉加达罗觉得就是结我。叫的就把这就把样子把做别的。拉玛光巴维巴的美巴拉加达罗觉得就是结我。中的就把这就把样子把做别的。拉玛光巴维巴的美巴拉加达。就说叫个叫我要是走吧的我也没见过你那也走进那也是没那也找不了说的明明个大个样子，让我我去见人家来往的，南京旁边北京来，去了一句没办法，现在娘们白家谁，你见俺们把咱。你没有最嘛没白没，在那让走一起没二当天天没都把谁，到了这个这个，三次没把也三节，没了这去结果让走一。别来我玩，别的啥都什么呀，马六巴拉呀，别的啥都天龙，这站着都没，把我是这个有没，把是不是有没，俺的了都没，把我是我这这没，把也是我干嘛是他没有这个需要可容啊，我把个我这个看到没那么没那个别的把什么有啥都。我让他罗别让就别说完了呀呀我看看看，多加说话干嘛办？你没说话他都没这样说啊。 5초 낙정하나
This page 55, the Amitabha Sadhana.
한스러워.
In English, on page 55, at the top. Hung, transcendent conqueror, protector, Buddha Amitabha, and noble assembly of loving bodhisattvas, compassionately look upon us, afflicted beings, and guide us to the pure land of Sukhavati. In accordance with your past bodhisattva vows, not wavering from your samaya, deity with great compassion, please extinguish all bad karma and empty samsara from its depths. For at this very moment, please act as our guide. As I, with intense devotion, have thus invoked the enlightened mind, red light rays of compassion radiate from the heart of Amitabha and dissolve into the hearts of all beings and myself. Self-grasping, misconceptions, and confusion naturally subside. I actualize the mind of selfless Dharmakaya and rest within a state of clarity and emptiness, free from grasping and elaboration.
The Dara Namba Gonde Lezo Sunanda Ye Sambakadodi Roa Dunga Joa Siwana Waba Mebe De La Toba Yo Ore Jika Kajan Kwambo Waba Me Longa de jar se sambe so, zhe ge nian de ra jiao ko jie jie, ru na de jin zhu bei zha xi xiu. Page 58.
Da yin ne zembe jama da jiwa yin jaba ma jaba Tere jile nande yano yo de ke da mola da ba de So je san je san je ke me ando sen je la da so Te ya sa me sa ke ya awa bo da na so
page I think 80. Yeah, page 80. We're going to chant English. Page 80. 80. Dorjin Chan, Telopa, Naropa, Marpa, Malarepa, Damalot, Gampopa, Pamutrupa, and Lord Trigompa, please bestow upon us the most auspicious blessing of all the Kagyu Lamas. By this virtue may I achieve omniscience, by defeating all enemies' confusion. May all who travel on the waves of birth, old age, sickness and death cross the ocean of samsara. Bodhicitta, the excellent and precious mind, where it is unborn may it arise, where it is born may it not decline, but ever increase higher and higher. I pray that the Lama may have good health. I pray that the Lama may have long life. I pray that your Dharma activities spread far and wide. I pray that I may not be separated from you. As Manjushri the warrior realized the ultimate state, and as did Samantabhadra, I will follow in their path and fully dedicate all the merit for all sentient beings. By the blessing of the Buddha who attained the three kayas, by the blessing of the truth of the unchanging Dharma as such, by the blessing of the indivisible Sangha order, may the merit I share bear fruit. By the virtues collected in the three times by myself and all beings in samsara and nirvana, and by the innate root of virtue, may I and all sentient beings quickly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious enlightenment. May the teachings of the great Drikumpa Ratnashri, who is omniscient, Lord of the Dharma, Master of interdependence, continue and increase through study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara. For this realm, sacred by snow-covered mountains,
you are the source of every benefit and bliss without exception. Denzin Gyatso, you who are one with Avalokiteshvara, may you remain steadfast until samsara's end. Embodiment of the three precious jewels, Padmapani, who holds the teachings of the victorious one, seeing the all-goodness meaning with the wisdom eye, may you who are spontaneously established activities live long for hundreds of kalpas. Noble Manjushri, the Lord of speech, who manifests to hold the teachings of the Triple Gem, who raises the lamp of the sage's teachings, may you who are the light of the Dharma live long for hundreds of kalpas. The one known in the Holy Land as Aryadeva, emanated into the Gar clan of eastern Tibet as Chidingpa, the heart son of Chigden Sumgan, may the life of glorious Garchen remain steadfast for 100 aeons. In this age of strife, when the victor's teaching faces hardship, through his powerful Vajra-like conduct, he takes on himself the heavy responsibility of the unbiased teaching. May Garchen, the son of the teachings, live long.